Hey, you're in the Legends Lounge here at the U.S. Ski and Snowboard Hall of Fame, where we get to talk to the legends of the hall and talk about all the great and amazing accomplishments these honored members have achieved. And today is no special. Today is really special to me, actually, because there's people who have won things and done things, but there's very few that have done something that nobody else on the planet has ever done. Kit Deslauriers is the first person to ski the seven summits. Her long list of accomplishments goes beyond that, but that alone stands above the rest. It's amazing. And as always, before we kick things off with our honored guest, it's Justin, the executive director of the U.S. Ski and Snowboard Hall of Fame.
Mr. Dan
Justin,
Egan, how are you?
you're the man this morning. How are you doing, my friend?
Doing great. Yeah, just holding things down here in Ishpeming. Good to be back in the Legends Lounge with you. Good to bring Kit in today. Really excited for this one, and the series continues to go well. We learn things every time. Special this time having yet another ski genre similar to your career, Chris Davenport, people that have blazed through these mountains, not only in our country, but all over the world. Again, showing, the genre diversity that we deal with here at the Hall, everybody from, the guy that made the maps, Mr. Niehoos, to people that have crawled around every little nook and cranny on the planet at crazy elevations, doing wild things. Again, just getting that next generation excited to go strap on their skis and go do something crazy.
And that is the beautiful thing about the Legends Lounge. We get to talk to the legends and inspire the next round of people for sure. And like I said, Kit Deslauriers is the first person to ski the seven summits of the world. Kit, how are you doing today?
Oh, hi. Hi, Dan. Hi, Justin. I'm doing really well, thanks.
It's great to see you. And I know you're settled in out there in Jackson. And how's the winter been so far?
It's actually been a really great start. We're been skiing almost half mountain so far, actually, which is remarkable. And got out, started ski touring, and yeah, it's good. It's shallow still, but it's a great base. So we're happy to be sliding.
That's great. And congratulations for your recent election into the U.S. Ski and Snowboard Hall of Fame. Well deserved. And I'm wondering, with an accomplishment like this, does it give you pause to look back over your career and see and sort of like have a perspective on all of the many things you have accomplished?
Yeah, it does. I thought about a lot when I was like climbing and skiing the seven summits. Sometimes I'd be in a situation where I had some feature in a line to ski and wondered about my ability to do it. And then I would pull on like having done something in the competition scene setting, previously in my 2 years on the Free Skiing World Tour. And I actually find that happening sometimes now, like similarly, and oftentimes to a lesser extent. But like as time goes on, I wonder, and I find myself, getting up super early to go do something alpine or whatever, and I'm like, oh, and I'm like, well, how did I do it all those times? I just, try and pull on the fact that I know that I can, and I just need to get in the mindset. And yeah, but I do have a friend who's like, oh yeah, the older I get, the better I was, and I'm having a little bit of that too.
No, nothing wrong with that, Kit, for sure. You can welcome into that realm. It's of course you had an amazing career on the World Freeride Tour and as a pro skier. But when did the first idea of skiing the seven summits come in? How did that start to develop for you?
So there was actually a distinct overlap in those two pieces of my career. I competed on the World Free Skiing Tour in 2004 and 2005, and it was in February 2005 when I was at the U.S. Free Skiing Nationals at Snowbird, Utah, and I won that event. And Snowbird, Utah was, of course, the brainchild of Dick Bass, who was still at that time in 2005, it's like CEO, president. And he was the one to hand out the awards. And so I won that event. And so I got to meet Dick Bass, and we ended up having dinner together that night. And I got to listen to a lot of his stories. Of course, he was the first person to climb the 7 summits. And together with Rick Ridgway, they wrote a book about it called 7 Summits. So when I checked out of his hotel room the next day, there was a signed copy waiting for me. With a poem inscription and everything. And so I read it, and that's when I got thinking, okay, well, if he could climb these and calls himself a high altitude trekker, then perhaps I could ski them. So there was a distinct overlap in the spring of 2005.
That's awesome and beautiful, how these things start to germinate and grow. But of course, there's a huge difference between competing on the free ride tour and skiing the highest summits of the world at altitude after you've already climbed them. How did you sort of bridge that mentally from the wildness of the free ride tour to the technical aspect of skiing the 7 summits?
Yeah, that's a great question. How did I bridge that? I think it's something that's, for me, a bit unique, probably a bit different from most competitors on the free skiing tour. To compete in skiing was new to me, but to ski mountaineer was not new to me. So it was actually like perhaps a bigger stretch for me to show up at the starting gate and be a competitive skier, much more so than to be a ski mountaineer. So, I grew up walking around in Nordic skis in the winter in New England, and my introduction to skiing was really just quite like that, was this love of being outdoors in the winter and just moving through the snow, and then gradually started to get more into backcountry skiing and ski mountaineering. And then for me, it was a kind of a radical departure when I went on the free skiing tour. So those 2 years, and I wanted to win. So those 2 years, I really didn't backcountry ski hardly at all, because I couldn't, if I wanted to win, I couldn't sacrifice, frankly, like a half a day or a day of not being like lapping Jackson Hole Mountain Resort Tram and trying to find sometimes the worst conditions and hit all these features and literally like visualize I was in this competition run, because that's the piece of me that I needed to bring to the table. So it was a bit more of a natural organic evolution back into ski mountaineering and ski touring for me once I decided to leave the tour.
And then, of course, it's a long way from receiving somebody's book about the 7 summits than actually doing it, planning it, and strategizing on which one to choose first. How long was the prep, and then where did you go first? Which summit did you bag?
The prep was remarkably short. When I say I read the book that spring, I took it with me on the next couple competitions and savored it over, I'd say, March and April, really, into early April. And then that year, early April 2005, I was at Kirkwood, and that was when that was the last stop of the season, and that was when I knew that I had won the overall title, because it's a point series 2 years ago. And so really it was like late April when I really sat with it and decided, okay, this is what I'm going to do next. And it was so what came next was basically some immediate planning, right? And a lot of calendar work and a lot of research to figure out, most people are looking at these mountains like, when's the best time to climb them? And it's a whole different lens to think about when's the best time to ski them. And so that's how calendar work started. And I'd say it was the very first one was Mount Elbrus in Russia, which I know you have climbed, Dan, in June of 2005. So just a couple months later.
Every time I think about skiing the 7 summits of the world at that altitude, it's mind-blowing, really, just to have the mental strength to do it. And Kit, I'm wondering, when you look back at skiing, Elbrus and Everest, and the list goes on, can you just put yourself there? Does it bring you right back when you think about it to those conditions and the situation?
Yeah, I'm brought back to that kind of mindset every day, really, because, I learned, for me, skiing is like just my medium for experiencing the world and the lessons that it has for me. And one of those biggest ones is just being in the moment, right? So like when we're faced with something big, and it could be, especially in these days, like as big as helping our kids get through the school day or something, you just need to be like focused and relaxed and in the moment. And that is exactly what every one of those days on every one of those climbs and ski descents was like. Like there was nothing else other than doing what was right in front of you and doing it to the best of your ability, and like with just as much as possible, like total like calm and detachment from the outcome, but just relaxing into it. That's the only way forward, right? And that's kind of the only way forward in life, really, if you want to be successful at it. Like there's no kind of like clinging to the outcome that's going to help you in the moment. You just have to be in the moment. So yeah, I think about it all the time.
And did you ever think did you think this is just too much? I'm never going to make it, or you never allowed that sort of doubt to creep in?
Oh, I had that doubt from time to time, but never really seriously. Like, yeah. I wrote a book about this, and it's called Higher Love: Skiing the Seven Summits. And it's kind of funny because in the book I chose to have this approach where, it's a memoir, it's a first person memoir, right? But I wrote a lot of that internal dialogue in quotes in italics in the book. And so, the reader can really get into my mindset, and I'm not shy of sharing that vulnerability. There was plenty of it. But for the most part, it was like, I think it's just natural that you kind of have to think things through, and you doubt yourself, and then you just decide which outcome you want. And so I would pull myself through, or sometimes it would be Rob, like smack me around. Figuratively being like, seriously, kid, you always do this. Like you're telling yourself that, you're scared, or you're cold, or you're tired, or you don't know if you, of course you can do it. Or like, I'd be like, oh, I have to stop and check my path. Did I remember my second set of mittens? He's like, go ahead and check, but you never forget anything. Like, that's part of your system. And it's kind of part of my system to allow a little bit of that doubt in, because, you never want to be overconfident, but then it's really an important piece of it to like choose the path out, right? And so the path should be visualizing what you want.
I love that. The intention and setting the intention in succeeding. That had to come in play when you skied Everest. I mean, that alone, the idea that you skied Everest, but that you did it with your husband. Can you just describe?
And Jimmy Chin.
What? Say that again?
And Jimmy Chin.
And Jimmy Chin.
Yeah.
Amazing, right? Can you just describe for us what that was all about with the three of you up there on the summit?
On the summit of Everest, I was overcome with emotion that was mostly gratitude. I never saw this coming, but I was flooded with gratitude for all of the people who had helped me get to that point, to where I had the opportunity to actually ski. And it was the people who were there with us, definitely, like our team, all of our team, everybody who had worked like logistics and Wally Berg, and all the amazing climbing Sherpas that were with us. But then all the way to like everybody who was supporting us at home, and then all the expeditions throughout. And it was just like this kind of storyboard unraveling in a matter of seconds up there. And it was a lot of emotion. It was pretty awesome. And then it was just back, like I said, down to this focus of in the moment. I remember, one of my deals is like, I always need to take a little tool, like on your Swiss Army knife or something, a little ball, to clean out the receiving holes for the pin bindings on the toe of my boots, and to make sure there's no snow and ice. And so I reached in my pocket, and I was so bummed that I had forgotten to put it in an outside, easily accessible pocket. And it was cute. Like Dave Hahn was with us, and he saw me visibly agitated. He was like, "What's up?" And I'm like, "I forgot my all." I was so bummed, It's like these little things. And he said, "You gave it your all. I'll give you my all." So I just love like the humor and the lightness in the moment. And yeah, so clicked into my bindings and realized quickly that we hadn't made a distinct plan of how to move around. There's not a lot of room up there. And so I don't think anybody really believed that I was going to ski. So people were kind of in my way, especially the Sherpas who didn't understand. It was funny. And then it was, wicked steep and nasty snow, like just intense, hard wind ridges and ripples. And wind is the greatest factor to change any condition, really anywhere, but especially when you're at altitude, you got to magnify that however many fold. And so the snow was just like really hard and wind ripply. And then it was quite off angle, right? Because we had to ski back down the ridge. And anyway, so we did that. And then, and then I think this is the part that's like, I think reading about it in the book is probably the best way. But we got to the Hillary step. Here's the short story. We got to the Hillary step, and Rob really wanted to go first because he really wanted to video me skiing the Hillary step. And he went first, and he passed out from lack of oxygen. And so we went into a bit of a rescue mode there, and was super intense. And so we down climbed, mixed with some skiing, back to Camp 4. Which is an 8,000 meter peak on its own, 26,000 feet, and spent another night there. And then we got up and skied the Lhotse face, which is actually this picture right behind me. It was amazing. It would let me move around here. Like, how do I get out of here? Right there. It was like huge. It was 5,000 vertical feet of uninterrupted 50 degrees plus or more. And and you'd have to watch them. The Man Who Skied Everest, Yuichiro Miura's 1972 Academy Award-winning documentary to really understand that face. But it's incredible. There's no place for a rest, and it was gnarly. It was just icy and ball bearings of snow and rock and ice, and this kind of tongue shapes of snow didn't actually match up together, and the Bergschrund to jump at the bottom. And it was, I think, an hour and 50 minutes or something of just like extreme, the most difficult ski descent any of us had ever done. And it was just Rob and Jimmy and I out there on the face without like rope, right? So it was kind of like free soloing, but we were skiing. So that was the descent in a nutshell. It wasn't 100% complete ski descent from the summit. We had to make sure that everybody got down alive, but we skied more than half the mountain, and we skied from the summit. And then we made this descent down the Lhotse face that's still unrepeated.
I'm just on the edge of my seat thinking about it. Every time I've thought about it, when I've read about it, when I've heard it in first person, skiing the Lhotse face over an hour and a half, sustainable 50 degrees. I'm blown away. Justin, I mean, is there room in the hall? Like how, like this is crazy, right? Like, and this is what happens here in the Legends Lounge. We hear about these feats, but this one, Kit, oh my gosh, that must give you pause up there in Ishpeming, Justin, when you hear about it.
Yeah, it's incredible, man. And to hear Kit talk about it is great for the lounge and the people that are going to be able to watch this. We're really, really excited to have you, Kit, and can't wait to get to the actual induction and showcase some of this stuff to your friends and fans and the people that are supporting you and have supported you and will continue. We've got more adventures ahead, huh?
Oh yeah, definitely.
I love the fact that you talked about the entire team on Everest, but really there's a huge team behind you for 7 summits. When you think
yes and no, honestly.
Tell me about that.
Really, really kind of under the radar.
So how do you mean?
Well, like my parents didn't even know that this is what I was doing.
Was Everest one yet?
Yeah, that's really interesting because that's how it worked out. Well, no, that's not how it worked out for Dick Bass. Kosciuszko was the last one for him. And so when I read his book, I was just like really clear I didn't want to finish on something anticlimactic like Kosciuszko, the simplest one in Australia. But I also didn't really want to finish with Everest because, well, I think it's pretty obvious, but it's the most difficult, the highest, the most dangerous, the least likelihood of success, and the greatest probability of death. And did I already say the most expensive? And it was like so hard to just kind of be in the moment when you're up there, especially because that was the last one for me. It was probably like the hardest thing for me to get through on that one. We were gone from our home for almost 10 weeks, and we were at or above the 17,000 foot base camp for 7 weeks, for 49 days.
Quite something. So it was a small, tight crew.
Yeah.
Tell me just what size crew did you use to achieve this entire feat then?
Well, the entire feat, you know, well, the super quick backstory is, you know, Rob and I met on a ski expedition in Siberia in 1999. So it's what we love to do. And when he took on a new intense work career, it became more difficult to do stuff like that for a while. And so in celebration of his schedule easing up a little bit, it was spring of 2004, he and I went to Denali for vacation. So we did Denali. We skied from the summit of Denali all the way down for our vacation, just the two of us. That's just what we did. And so that wasn't actually part of the Seven Summits project. So then it was the next year in 2005 when I had met Dick Bass and read his book that I had this bigger project, right? And so that was when we started off with Elbreth and the others over the course of the next, like, less than, 16 months, I guess. The rest of them happened quickly. And so for that, I'd say my biggest support, besides Rob, who went on most of them, but not all. He did not go to Aconcagua in Argentina, nor did he go to so in Australia. But in that time frame there, when I was in like December, January of 2005, I guess, I met an individual that I'll just call my angel sponsor. And we were skiing at Jackson Hole Mountain Resort, and he encouraged me to compete again that year on the free skiing tour and wrote me a check so that I could afford that. And when I won, even more definitively than the year before, I had some money left over. And I asked him if I could use it for this next project. And so I'd really have to say that, you know, that person who was my angel sponsor was the biggest part of my team, because without having somebody like that to believe in such a big, crazy dream, I don't think I would have been able to do it.
Amazing. And I know you mentioned you skied off Everest with Jimmy Chin, and Jimmy Chin himself has had an amazing career. Just talk about how many trips he went on with you, and what he's been like for you to be a climbing and ski partner.
Jimmy is an amazing partner. We actually hadn't skied together before the year. Let's see, it was 2006. So I guess it was like February 2006. I was actually headed out to the Jackson Hole backcountry, side country, to go ski this pretty exciting, very exciting test piece couloir called Central. And I had a friend with me, and I met him in tramline that morning, Jimmy, and we'd known each other, but kind of distantly, right? And turns out we were both going for the same big objective. I mean, how many people show up like 8:15 on a not a powder morning to make sure they get the first tram? And so, like, where are you going? And so we ended up on that line together, which was amazing. And then like couple weeks later, we ended up skiing the Grand Teton together. So our two runs together were, you know, of very high caliber. And then we asked him that like spring or maybe even June, I don't know, to go to Everest with us. And we still didn't know Jimmy super well, but, you know, Jimmy was like, he was busy then, and now he's, you know, stratospherically busy with his intense work schedule. So it's like a big commitment, right? And I could tell that there was a piece of Jimmy that like wondered if we were really going to be able to pull off what, you know, we said we wanted to go do. And so we went out and did some long days in the Tetons together that summer, Rob and Jimmy and I, and our partnership, our teamwork really bonded. And, you know, we did stuff like climbing, you know, all the biggest peaks in 16-hour days or whatever here in Jackson, doing big link ups, and really started to cement our partnership. And then Everest took it definitely the next step, right? It was like the closest to impermanence that any of us at that point had really ever been. I say at that point because Jimmy's been pretty out there a few other times also, but I do know he still counts Everest as like one of the top 2 things he's ever done in his life. And so, yeah, we just love to still go out and adventure in the mountains, and we do that. And yeah, and sometimes other places around the world too. Like I've been to Greenland with him, and I guess I just say that he's one of our best friends still.
Jimmy Chin, top 3 accomplishments, Everest. I love the how casual that is. We've got a great video with Jimmy and Kit from Greenland. Let's watch that.
All right, Jimmy, sit down. Ready when you're on.
Yeah, this is so sick. Down to the beach.
Spending time outside and being in the wilderness, it's just good for you. I think I find the best version of myself in the mountains. In life, you get bogged down with a lot of different things, and there's a lot of noise in the world. To be able to go out and not have an internet connection and not have to check your phone, you know, I think of it as wilderness therapy.
I told you you were gonna see that. That was like right in front of us too.
Beautiful, great scene. Where in Greenland, Kit?
In the Maniitsoq area, Western Greenland.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously that's a beautiful piece, but does that sort of sum it up for you, sort of wilderness therapy? Do you rejuvenate when you head up on these adventures?
Absolutely. It's like I'm a person of the earth, and I need to be moving my feet in a grounded way, and ideally every day. And it's a big piece of who I am. So absolutely.
And I think it was last year. The Deslauriers family was in the Warren Miller ski film with your kids, right. And just tell us a little bit about how fun was that to do it as a family.
Oh, I think it's still sinking in for the kids, right? They got like their all venue pass, and they were like, "Does this mean that I can go anywhere?" And like they get backstage, I can go to every one of these events. This is cute. Yeah, they're I think it gave them a lot of confidence that somebody, thought that their skiing was fun and their story's worth it. And it definitely gave them a taste of that Greenland piece. And it was time to ski for the camera. There's this moment of like, okay, well, the same thing that happens in intense line skiing, or for the kids like skiing in the Warren Miller, it's like, okay, you could get caught up in the countdown and all the what ifs, right? Or you could just be in the moment with, hey, this is what I love to do. So I'm just going to operate from a place of love. And it was cool to see the kids like make that choice. And yeah, so they loved it. And they want to ski every day this year.
Of course they do. What else would they do?
Right? So who knows?
In the Deslauriers family house, why not ski every day? Beautiful Jackson Hole. Kit, we congratulations on your recent election into the U.S. Ski and Snowboard Hall of Fame. Well deserved. And with all the many things that you have done and the beautiful family you've raised, just wondering what is it that you're most proud of?
Well, I definitely have to say my wonderful kids, and that we've held our marriage together through all this.
That's tough.
But I'd also say like making the right decisions at the right times, learning to turn around. There were times like when we went for the summit of Denali the first time, we turned around. The weather wasn't quite right. And sometimes you push, but you have to practice this awareness, right? And then And then on Everest, it was like making the decision that would, potentially like haunt us for years of was it the right thing? Rob still kicks himself. He's like, I didn't sleep through the night for 2 years because I know that you could have made that complete ski descent, but instead you went, in search of help for me. But it's like, I never thought that way, right? It's just making the right decision. Like, you got to do what you want to do and what you love to do, but it should never be from a real selfish perspective. It should be in some way that you can use it to, to share love and compassion with others. And like, kind of like when we were going for Everest, we got to meet with this really awesome Tibetan Buddhist Lama named Lama Geshe in the village of Pengboche on our way up there. And I think he pretty well summed it up when he asked us a rhetorical question. He said, why do you wish to climb Chomolungma? And then when he gave us the answer after we all pondered it on our own, he said, you must have the benefit of other beings at the root of the reason for whatever you do if you wish to have continued success. So I'll say that again. You must have the benefit of other beings at the root of the reason for whatever you do if you wish to have continued success. So I think it's like, I guess I'm most proud of like having been able to turn like my love for skiing into this approach to life that I try and use to inform, my approach to life and help uplift others in their own, their own searches, right? Because it's really not just about us going out and getting the blower powder days, which we all absolutely, truly love.
Words to live by, motivational feats and accomplishments. Kit Deslauriers here in the Legends Lounge at the U.S. Ski and Snowboard Hall of Fame. Kit, we appreciate your time, and once again, congratulations.
Thanks, Dan, so much. Thanks, Justin. Thanks for having me, and thanks for being a part of this all and allowing me to have such an amazing honor. It's like, I think about it and with just as much incredulity as I do that I was able to pull off the 7 summits. So thank you so much.
Good to see you, Kit.
Thanks.
That's it. Here at the Legends Lounge at the Summits of the World. We'll see you next time with the U.S. Ski and Snowboard Hall of Fame.